You clicked this video for a reason, not out of impulse, but from something deeper. A quiet need to feel steady, to stay calm when things go wrong, to stop your thoughts from spinning. You've likely tried already breathing techniques, daily reminders, maybe even routines meant to quiet the noise. And still, some days feel louder than others. The Stoics knew this feeling well. They weren't untouchable, emotionless statues. They were soldiers, exiles, emperors, facing loss, betrayal, war, and fatigue. And yet, they learned how to remain composed, not by removing emotion, but by mastering it. This video brings you 15 of their most powerful lessons, each one designed to help you stay centered. No matter the chaos around you, these aren't quotes to admire. They're principles to live by, to guide you when you're overwhelmed, frustrated, anxious, or simply tired of being pulled in every direction. So take a breath. Feel your feet on the ground. Let's walk through this calmly together. And if this voice brings you calm, if this philosophy feels like home, consider subscribing. That way, this kind of stillness will gently find its way back to you again. We begin now. Number 1, calm is a choice, not a trait. You wake up, the notifications are already there. Something urgent, something irritating, a message that stings, a reminder of something unfinished. Your breath shortens, your jaw tightens. The day hasn't even begun, and already you're pulled off center. It's tempting to believe this is just who you are, someone with a quick temper, an anxious mind, a person who just feels things deeply. But what if that's not the truth? What if calm isn't something you're born with, but something you practice? Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That single line, it draws a line in the sand. There's what happens outside of you. And then there's what happens inside of you. And the two are not the same. Imagine a thermostat. It holds the temperature steady. It doesn't spike or drop because someone opens a window. It doesn't panic when the weather shifts. It adjusts deliberately. You too can live like that. But most people live like thermometers. They absorb every mood in the room, every headline, every slight. They react. They mimic the world instead of mastering their internal world. So, how do you start? You begin with awareness. Notice when you're being pulled, not to shame yourself, but to gently say, "This moment does not control me. I have a choice." You begin by slowing your response, by breathing before speaking, by pausing before reacting. These tiny decisions made hundreds of times a day shape your inner landscape. They reinforce the truth that calm isn't a personality trait. It's a decision you make again and again until it becomes a reflex. You won't always succeed. Even the Stoics didn't. But each time you choose calm, you choose clarity. And each time you return to it, you return stronger, like a muscle trained by resistance. So ask yourself this: when did you last surrender control to something outside of you? And what would it feel like to never do that again? You can't control what the world throws at you, but you can always decide how you meet it, and that decision is where your power lives. Number 2, slow down the mind to see clearly. Some days, your thoughts race, not forward toward a goal, but sideways, spiraling. You replay conversations. You imagine worst-case outcomes. You respond to things that haven't even happened. And in the middle of it all, clarity vanishes. You don't see people as they are. You don't hear words as they're spoken. You only see and hear your own noise. Marcus Aurelius warned us of this. He wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." In other words, it's not the event, it's your interpretation, your estimation, your reaction. But how do you change the way you see? When your mind is clouded, picture a muddy pond. If you keep stirring the water, it never clears. But if you let it settle, the mud falls, the water clears. You can see straight to the bottom. Your mind works the same way. The more you chase every thought, react to every comment, rush from one thing to the next, the murkier everything becomes. But stillness lets the truth rise. It creates space between the trigger and the response. It lets you say, is this worth my energy? Is this even real? Or just my perception? So how do you practice that stillness? Start by catching yourself mid-rush. Notice when your mind is moving too fast. Not with judgment, but with curiosity. Breathe. Count backward from 5. Touch something nearby to ground yourself. Then ask what is actually happening right now. This is not about slowing your productivity. It's about sharpening your perception. It's about replacing reactivity with clarity. Because a calm mind is not a slow mind, it's a precise one. In that moment of pause, you regain control. You step out of the whirlwind. You give yourself room to choose, instead of just reacting. Over time, this becomes natural. You'll see people spinning around you and feel no need to join. You'll hear harsh words and choose not to echo them. You'll feel the pull to rush and stay rooted instead, because now you've seen the difference between a stirred pond and a settled one. So ask yourself, what would happen if you paused before reacting? What might you see more clearly? What might you spare yourself from? Stillness doesn't mean withdrawal, it means wisdom, and wisdom starts by slowing down. Number 3, embrace discomfort. It strengthens your calm. You want to feel calm, but often you seek comfort instead. You avoid the hard conversations. You scroll past boredom. You choose the easier task, the shorter line, the quicker fix. And when discomfort does arrive, you tense up, you flinch, you want it gone immediately. But here's the quiet truth. Real calm isn't built in comfort, it's forged in discomfort. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." It's not discomfort itself that unravels us, it's our fear of it, our resistance to it, our stories about what it might mean. Think of it like walking barefoot. At first the ground feels harsh. Every pebble, every uneven edge hurts. But over time, your feet adapt. They form calluses, they grow stronger. The same path becomes easier, not because the ground changed, but because you did. Your mind works the same way. Every time you face discomfort willingly, you train your nervous system to stay steady. You teach yourself, I can handle this. So how do you begin? You lean into small discomforts on purpose. You sit with the itch to check your phone. You hold the silence a moment longer in conversation. You go for a walk when you'd rather stay in. You finish the task that feels dull. You let yourself feel bored, tired, uncertain, without rushing to escape it. Each time you do, you expand your capacity. You build resilience, and that resilience becomes your calm. Eventually, the things that once triggered panic now feel manageable, not because they got easier, but because you got sturdier. The Stoics didn't chase comfort. They practiced voluntary discomfort. They fasted. They slept on hard surfaces. They imagined loss not to invite sadness, but to prepare the soul for reality. Because when the real storms came, they were ready. So pause here and ask yourself, what comfort are you clinging to that's making you weaker? That daily latte, that endless distraction, that avoidance of hard things. Is it truly peace or just escape? You don't need to live in suffering, but you do need to stop fearing it. Because once you face discomfort and survive it, you become something rarer than happy. You become unshakable, and that's real calm. Number 4, silence isn't weakness, it's mastery. There's a moment in every conversation, a pause, a breath, a gap where you could speak, but don't. That moment, it feels uncomfortable. Your brain rushes to fill the silence, to defend, explain, impress, or win. But what if you didn't? What if you simply stayed quiet? Epictetus once said, "Be silent for the most part, or speak only what is necessary and in few words." To the modern ear, that might sound harsh, even cold. But look deeper. He's not preaching repression. He's teaching restraint. Because in silence, you reclaim your power. In a noisy world, silence is radical. It's not weakness, it's mastery. Think of deep water. It doesn't rush, it doesn't splash. It holds immense strength, yet appears calm, still, unbothered. You don't need to react to everything. You don't owe everyone your opinion. You don't need to prove you're right. Sometimes the most powerful statement is no statement at all. But how do you practice this silence? You start by noticing your impulse to speak, not judging it, just observing. You feel the heat rise when someone disagrees, the pressure to reply quickly in a group, the discomfort when things get awkward. And instead of reacting, you breathe, you pause, you listen longer. You let others fill the space or not. You learn to become a vessel, not a megaphone. You speak less, but with more weight. You choose words the way an artist chooses color, not to cover everything, but to make the essentials stand out. In time, people begin to notice, not your silence, but your presence. You speak less, but you're heard more. You interrupt less, but you understand more. And here's the quiet irony. When you master silence, you become someone others listen to, even when you haven't said a word. So ask yourself gently, how often do you speak just to fill the silence? And what might happen if you didn't? Let your silence carry the weight of your discipline. Let it show that you are not pulled by impulse, but led by intention. Because true calm isn't loud. It doesn't need attention. It simply is. Number 5, observe, don't absorb. You walk into a room and without realizing it, your mood begins to shift. Someone's agitated and suddenly you're tense too. Someone's anxious and now your heart races. It's like emotions are contagious and you've caught them. But this isn't empathy. This isn't awareness. This is absorption. And the Stoics warned us against it. Epictetus said, don't explain your philosophy. Embody it, meaning you don't need to argue with chaos. You don't need to match the energy of anger, fear, or panic. You simply need to stand still in your own values. Picture a mirror. It reflects everything in front of it, but it absorbs nothing. The mirror stays unchanged, still, unbothered. That's what it means to observe, not absorb. To be fully aware of what's happening around you, but not let it alter what's happening within you. Because when you absorb everything, you lose yourself. Your calm gets hijacked. Your day becomes a reaction to everyone else's energy. But when you observe, you hold your ground. You choose how you respond. You become the thermostat again, not the thermometer. So how do you make that shift? You start by noticing how often you take on other people's emotions at work, in traffic, on social media. Are you mirroring someone else's stress? Are you letting their fear become your fear? Then you create space, not physical space, but mental space. When someone speaks with anger, you don't echo it. You breathe. You listen. You let their words pass through you, not into you. When the world gets noisy, you don't turn up your volume. You turn inward. You ask what's mine to carry him out, and what isn't. Over time, you'll notice. You're less rattled, less reactive, more grounded. People may call you calm, but really, you're just anchored. And anchoring takes practice. So pause now and ask, are you reacting to life or reflecting it? What would shift if you became the mirror? Not the sponge. Calm isn't about shutting the world out. It's about letting it in, without letting it take over. You don't need to match every mood. You don't need to join every emotional storm. You can remain still, present, unshaken. That's not cold. That's not distant. That's discipline. And in the Stoic way, that's wisdom. Number 6, detach from the outcome. You make the effort. You show up. You do the work. You give your all, and still, the result slips through your fingers. The sale doesn't close. The message goes unanswered. The goal remains out of reach. You feel frustrated, helpless, maybe even betrayed, because you thought effort meant control. But the Stoics remind us that's never been the deal. Epictetus said, "Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather wish that what happens happen the way it happens. Then you will be happy." It's not about indifference, it's about acceptance. You still plan, you still try, you still care, but you release your grip on the outcome. Picture a surfer. They train endlessly. They study the waves. They paddle with precision, but they don't control the ocean. They ride what comes, adapting, flowing, letting go. That's detachment, not apathy, not surrender, just clarity. Clarity that says, my peace does not depend on what happens after my effort. It depends on whether I acted in alignment with my values. So how do you live this way? You begin by separating what you do from what happens. You show up to the interview without tying your self-worth to the job offer. You create the art without obsessing over the likes. You say what's true without needing validation. It doesn't mean you don't care, it means you care about the right thing. Your intention, your integrity, your action. Over time, you'll notice you're less shaken by rejection, less desperate for results, more at ease with the unfolding of things. You'll move from a mindset of, what will I get, to what will I give? And that shift changes everything. So breathe in this question. What outcome are you clinging to that is disturbing your peace? And what might happen if you let it go? You may still want the result. You may still feel the sting when it doesn't come, but you'll no longer be owned by it. You'll remain free, free to try again, or to walk away with calm. Because in the Stoic path, peace isn't found in outcomes. It's found in ownership, not of results, but of your response. Number 7, practice negative visualization. You wake up, and everything feels normal. Your loved ones are near. Your routine unfolds as usual. The world feels intact. But the Stoics ask, what if it wasn't not to invite sorrow, but to sharpen presence, to wake you up to what you already have? Seneca wrote, "He robs present ills of their power, who has perceived their coming beforehand." This isn't about being morbid. It's about being mentally prepared. Prepared, not panicked. Aware, not anxious. Imagine a firefighter. They don't live in fear of fire, but they prepare. They train. They run drills in their mind so that when the heat rises, they don't freeze. They move. They act with calm because they've been there before. You can do the same in your inner world. You can picture loss, not to dwell in darkness, but to bring the light closer, to hold what you love a little tighter, to notice the mundane with reverence, to say thank you more freely because nothing is guaranteed. This practice is called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, and the Stoics used it to build calm, not fear. So how do you begin? You take a quiet moment in the morning and ask, what could go wrong today? What might be taken from me? What challenge could arise? And then you imagine meeting it with steadiness. You don't catastrophize, you don't spiral, you rehearse like a Stoic, like a firefighter of the soul. And then you return to your life, not drained, but more alive. Suddenly that conversation with your friend feels richer. That cup of coffee tastes deeper. That quiet walk means more, because you've remembered. It could all change. This isn't pessimism. It's appreciation sharpened by perspective. And when hardship does arrive, you won't say, why me? You'll say, I've been here before. I trained for this. So reflect for a moment. Are you mentally prepared for what you fear most? Or are you avoiding the thought, hoping fear will forget you? You don't need to dwell in the negative, but you do need to face it, not with dread, but with dignity. Because when you can imagine loss, you hold life with reverence. You show up with presence. And when things fall apart, you stay intact. This is the quiet armor of the Stoic, and it's yours to wear. Number 8, remember you will die, memento mori. You live like there's always more time, more mornings, more moments, more chances to say I love you, or I'm sorry, or I was wrong. But the Stoics remind us that illusion is fragile. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Let each thing you would do, say, or intend be like that of a dying person." This is Memento Mori, a Latin phrase meaning remember you must die, not to frighten you, but to free you. Death isn't the enemy, it's the clarifier. It strips away what doesn't matter. It sharpens what does. Imagine holding a candle. You know it will burn out, so you cherish the flame while it lasts. You don't waste it, you don't ignore it. You let it light your path while it still can. That's your life. You don't know how many days remain, but you know this one is yours right now. So how do you live with that awareness? You begin by remembering daily that you are not promised tomorrow, not in a panicked way, but in a peaceful one. You write that message, you take that walk, you say thank you. You look into someone's eyes and see them. You remove the urgency to prove yourself and replace it with the desire to be yourself. And when petty frustrations try to hijack your peace, you ask, would this matter? If this were my last day? Most often the answer is no. This mindset doesn't make you reckless. It makes you aware, more loving, more focused, more grateful. You begin to measure time not in hours, but in presence. You start to see interruptions as blessings. You start to see the mundane as holy. So pause with this question. If today was your last day, what would you stop worrying about? What would you say? What would you forgive? You can't control when life ends, but you can control how deeply you live while it's here. Remembering death is how the Stoics remembered what truly mattered in life. Let it guide you, not to fear the end, but to feel the now. Number 9, control the controllables. You try to plan it all, to prepare, to predict, to force the pieces of life into place. So nothing surprises you, so nothing hurts. But life doesn't follow your script. The traffic still builds, the email still goes unanswered, people still say what they say and do what they do, and yet you keep reaching for control where there is none. Epictetus gave us a map through this chaos. He said, "The chief task in life is simply this, to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself, which are externals not under my control, and which have to do with the choices I actually control." This is the dichotomy of control. It is the foundation of Stoic calm. There are things you can control, and things you can't, and your peace depends on knowing the difference. Picture a garden. You can water it, pull weeds, choose what you plant, but you can't control the rain, the sun, the wind. You tend to the soil, but let the weather be what it is. In life, your mind is your garden. Your thoughts, your choices, your values, those are yours. The rest is weather. So how do you begin to live this way? You start with awareness. Every time frustration rises, ask, is this within my control? If yes, act. If no, let go. You control your tone, not their response. You control your effort, not the outcome. You control what you focus on, not what the world throws at you. This doesn't mean you're passive. It means you're precise. You don't waste your energy. You don't fight the rain. You adjust your sails. Over time, this becomes instinct. You stop gripping life so tightly. You stop blaming. You stop spiraling over what could have been. You do your part and accept the rest. You become lighter, not because life is easier, but because you're not carrying what isn't yours. So ask yourself now, are you watering weeds outside your fence? Are you spending time, thought, energy on things you can't control? Bring it back to what's yours, to what's real, to where your power lives. Because peace is not found in controlling everything. It's found in controlling yourself. And that is always within reach. Number 10, expect setbacks. Welcome growth. You've been doing the work, waking earlier, staying calmer, trying harder, and then, just like that, it all unravels. A sharp word from someone you trusted, a door that closes, a plan that falls apart. You feel the tension rise. The old habits tug at you. You think, why is this happening again? But the Stoics wouldn't be surprised. In fact, they'd tell you, this is exactly how it's supposed to be. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is not just philosophy, it's a lens, a way of seeing problems as paths. Picture a river. It doesn't stop at the rock, it doesn't complain, it doesn't wait for the obstacle to move. It flows around it. Over time, it shapes the stone itself. This is how you grow, not by avoiding setbacks, but by moving through them. So how do you shift your mindset when life doesn't go as planned? First, expect it, not in a pessimistic way, but in a realistic one. Life will challenge you. Things will go wrong. People will disappoint you. You are not being singled out. You are being shaped. Then respond like a Stoic. When a setback appears, pause and ask, what is this here to teach me? Not why me, but what now? Did the failure teach you patience? Did the delay teach you preparation? Did the conflict reveal something about yourself? Growth hides inside difficulty, but only if you're willing to see it. And when you do, you begin to welcome the unexpected, not because it feels good, but because it reveals who you're becoming. Over time, setbacks feel different, less like punishment, more like practice. You'll notice you bounce back faster, you hold your ground longer, you trust yourself more fully, because you've learned that you are not breakable. So ask yourself now, what if this setback is your teacher in disguise? What might it be shaping in you that ease never could? The Stoics didn't pray for easy days. They trained for real ones. They saw the obstacle and stepped forward anyway. So the next time life pushes back, lean in, listen, flow, because what stands in the way becomes the way. Number 11, let go of the need to be liked. You walk into a room, and immediately part of you begins performing. You adjust your tone, you overthink your words, you laugh a little louder than you need to. Why? Because deep down, you want to be liked. And that's human. We all want connection, we all want to belong, but the problem isn't wanting to be liked, it's needing it, depending on it, letting your peace rise and fall on someone else's approval. Epictetus reminds us, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Hard words, but freeing ones. Because the moment you stop trying to manage what everyone thinks of you, you begin to own yourself. Think of a mask. Wearing one can feel safe. It protects you, but it also hides you. After a while, you forget where the mask ends and where you begin. When you let go of the need to be liked, you take the mask off. You speak more honestly, you move more freely, you live more lightly. So how do you do it? You begin by noticing the patterns. When you say yes just to please, when you stay silent just to fit in, when you chase praise and avoid judgment like your worth depends on it. Then you pause, you ask, what would I do right now if I didn't care what they thought? And you listen to that answer. Sometimes it will guide you to speak up. Sometimes it will tell you to walk away. Sometimes it will lead you to be quiet, but for your reasons. This isn't about becoming rude. It's about becoming real, not reckless, but rooted. When you let go of needing to be liked, you make space for something greater. Self-respect, inner stability, the ability to live aligned with your values, not someone else's expectations. And yes, some people won't understand. They'll judge, they'll question, they may even walk away. Let them, because the people meant to walk with you won't ask you to wear a mask. So ask yourself now, whose approval is costing you your peace? And what would happen if you gave it back? You don't need to be liked by everyone. You just need to like who you are when no one's watching. That's the kind of calm that lasts. And the Stoics knew it's better to be disliked for your integrity than praised for your performance. Number 12, focus on your role, not the applause. You do the right thing. You show up early. You stay late. You give without being asked. And yet, no one notices, no one claps, no one says well done. You feel a quiet sting because deep down you wanted to be seen, to be appreciated, to be recognized. And it's normal, but it's also dangerous because when your actions depend on applause, your peace depends on something you don't control. Marcus Aurelius offers an antidote. He said, "Don't hanker after what's not given to you. Look instead at all you have and count yourself blessed. Do your work because it's yours to do. Not because someone's watching, not because you'll get credit, but because it's who you are, and that's enough." Picture a candle. It doesn't shine to be admired. It simply shines. Even when no one's around, even when the room is empty, its purpose is its light, not the reaction to it. You are that candle. Your role is to live with integrity, to speak when it's hard, to stay kind when it's easier to be bitter, to give when no one will give back. So how do you live this way? You begin by separating the action from the acknowledgement. You ask yourself, would I still do this? If no one ever found out, if yes, do it. If no, pause. Ask what you're really seeking. You begin to focus on your role, not the response. You're the parent, not the judge. You're the teammate, not the scoreboard. You're the helper, not the headline. And yes, recognition feels good, but it fades, it shifts. It's often withheld for reasons that have nothing to do with you. When you chase applause, you lose your footing. You shape yourself to earn praise, instead of shaping yourself with purpose. But when you anchor to your role, you become steady, you become enough. So ask gently, are you playing your part or performing for praise? What would change if you did it for the doing, not the approval? The Stoics weren't concerned with being celebrated. They were concerned with being true. True to their principles, true to their duties, true to their inner compass. And in that truth, they found peace that applause could never offer. Be the candle. Shine anyway. Number 13, anchor to the present moment. You're here, but your mind isn't. It's replaying yesterday's argument. It's racing toward tomorrow's deadline. It's wandering through what-ifs and should-haves and not-yets. And while your body sits still, your thoughts are everywhere else. Marcus Aurelius offers a quiet command: confine yourself to the present. Not as a punishment, not to limit your joy, but to save it. Because when you live in the past, you carry weight that no longer belongs to you. And when you live in the future, you chase control you'll never truly catch. The only place you can breathe, the only place you can act, the only place you can find peace is now. Picture a ship at sea. Waves toss it from side to side. Storms rise. The current pulls. But if it drops anchor, it stays grounded, not by force, but by stillness. Your breath is your anchor. Your senses are the rope. Right now is your shore. So how do you come back to the moment when your mind drifts away? You start by noticing. Notice the mental time travel. Notice the stories, the spirals, the escape. And instead of following, you gently return. Feel your feet. Feel your breath. Name the sounds around you. Touch the texture of what's in your hand. You don't need to think your way into presence. You sense your way back, one quiet moment at a time. You begin to realize this second is not a stepping stone. It's not a barrier to the real thing. It is the real thing. This smile, this breath, this sip of water, this silence. Over time, you start to live differently. You listen without preparing your reply. You walk without rushing to arrive. You taste without distraction. You become available to life, to beauty, to clarity. And yes, your mind will still wander, but now you'll notice, and now you will return. So ask yourself softly, what are you missing right now by living in yesterday or tomorrow? And what gift is this moment trying to give you The Stoics didn't preach detachment from life. They preached attention to what is, to what's here, to what's real. And presence, that full, rich stillness, is the deepest kind of calm. Anchor yourself to this moment again and again until it becomes home. Number 14, keep your inner citadel strong. There are days when everything outside you feels uncertain. The world argues, plans collapse, people disappoint, and you feel yourself shrinking inward. But that's not weakness, it's instinct. The Stoics understood it, and they had a word for the place they retreated to, a space no one could reach. The inner citadel. Marcus Aurelius built his entire practice around this idea. He wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." But those ambitions weren't measured in status or recognition. They were measured in character. The inner citadel is your core. It's the unshakable structure inside you, not made of stone, but of principles, of values, of discipline, of peace. Picture a fortress, not on a battlefield, but in your heart. Thick walls of reason, quiet courtyards of reflection, guard towers of wisdom watching over your mind. When storms hit, you go there. When the crowd turns against you, you go there. When everything outside feels loud, uncertain, unjust, you step inside. So how do you build it? You start by asking, what do I believe, regardless of who's watching? What values do I return to? When life breaks down, what do I stand for when no one stands with me? Then you live by those answers, even when it's hard, even when no one claps, even when you're tired. Every time you choose honesty over convenience, compassion over bitterness, stillness over reaction, you add a brick to your citadel, and slowly what once shook you doesn't. What once stole your calm passes by. You don't need to control the world. You just need to know who you are in it. That's what the Stoics trained for. Not invincibility, but inner clarity. The kind that doesn't depend on external comfort or consensus. So reflect now, what cracks are weakening your inner walls, and how might you reinforce them today? You don't need armor, you don't need to hide. You just need to remember you are not empty, you are not lost. You are fortified from the inside out. Keep building, keep returning. Your inner citadel is where your calm begins. Number 15, let nature teach you peace. You stare at the screen, you rush through tasks, you respond to noise, to notifications, to obligations, to opinions that pile up like debris. And somewhere along the way, you forget what calm even feels like. But nature hasn't. Nature still remembers. And if you listen closely, she will teach you. Lao Tzu, often aligned with Stoic thought, once wrote, "Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished." The Stoics believed the same. They walked among trees. They watched the tides. They rose and rested with the sun, because nature was their teacher of rhythm, of balance, of surrender. Imagine clouds drifting across a calm sky. They don't rush, they don't resist, they move, because it's time to move. They wait, because it's time to wait. Now imagine you living like that, not rushed, not forced, but flowing. So how do you return to that state? You begin by leaving the noise behind, even for a moment. Step outside. Feel the earth beneath your feet. Let sunlight touch your skin. Let the wind rearrange your thoughts. Watch the leaves, the birds, the sky. You don't need hours. You need presence. Just long enough to remember that your pace isn't the world's pace, and it doesn't have to be. In nature, nothing is wasted, nothing is rushed. The seed sprouts when it's ready. The river carves stone over years, not seconds. The world you live in rewards speed, but your soul craves stillness. The more you anchor to nature, the more you realign with what's real. You begin to move with intention, to breathe without urgency, to release what no longer belongs, just like the trees. that let go of their leaves each fall, not in grief, but in grace. So ask yourself gently, when did you last let nature guide your mood? When did you last let it soften your edges? You don't need to say anything. You don't need to fix anything. You just need to be fully here, now. Because nature doesn't care how productive you are. She doesn't ask what your followers think. She only asks, will you sit with me? And in that quiet invitation, you'll rediscover your calm. Let nature teach you again. She's been waiting. Final reflection, leave with stillness. So, you've arrived, not at a destination, but at a stillness within yourself that perhaps you hadn't touched in a while. 15 lessons, 15 moments of clarity, not loud, not urgent, just quiet truths, returning you to yourself. And now, as you prepare to step back into the world, pause. Remember where you began. You came here searching for calm, not perfection, not detachment, just peace, in a world that doesn't often offer it. And now you've seen calm isn't a mystery. It's a practice. It's a choice. It's a habit of attention, built one breath, one pause, one decision at a time. The Stoics didn't give us quick fixes. They gave us something better, a way, but here's the danger. To hear the wisdom and do nothing with it, to nod in agreement and then return to rushing, reacting, forgetting. If you don't protect this stillness, the noise will return, slowly at first, then all at once. So take this with you. Carry one lesson forward, just one. Practice it, revisit it, let it become part of you. And when you lose your way, come back to this voice, to this moment, to this philosophy, because you're not alone. The path is walked slowly, but it's walked together. And if this voice helped you find quiet, let it find you again. Subscribe, if only to give calm a doorway back to your life when the world becomes loud again. Stillness isn't something you chase. It's something you return to. And now you know the way.